How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to TheBlueShifting, and welcome back to Higurashi When They Cry, and welcome back to the music that just brings me right back to where we were. So we had that reveal, and you seemed relatively pleased with my reactions. Yeah. The best part about me really trying hard to not have any spoilers is that I had no idea that they were actually going to pull the oh, they actually are two different people twist. I was full invested into Shion Mion being one person. So yeah, that was an interesting episode. I will address a few things from the comments though. Ultimately, there's two things I've learned from this I think are relevant for moving forward that I'm going to be keeping in mind. The first is the most important one. And that is the fact that while it's all fun and games, just like the first half of the first chapter, everything's fun and games, but there's important lessons that are being taught to us in it. The first game focused a lot on building up a narrative of something like that there's something underneath the surface of the village that is not being discussed and hidden. It really wanted to drive home that fact and to make us curious, because curiosity was going to be the crux of what was going to happen in the playing out of events after the Watanagashi festival. The second thing that I want to bring up here is so this game I think is following a similar pattern where it's establishing a precedent so that it can kind of do a payoff for it, or at least it can imply payoff without having to be overt about it to leave the mystery standing. And what is it that it would try to communicate to us? Well, first of all, it's blatantly telling us that there are going to be people who are going to be speaking, characters who are going to be speaking to Keiichi and us as the player, who are going to, whether willingly, intentionally or not, going to be telling us information that is false. And they might even say it directly. They might just be implying it. But specifically, there is going to be a level of misdirection in the information that is being shared. And it's going to be shared in a way that sounds concrete. So a good example would be Oishi. He talks like he's the officer doing the investigating. Perhaps he isn't telling us truths. That could be an example of what could happen in the future, is that maybe things that we learned in the last episode or coming from a source that we thought we could trust or felt very valid might be misinformation or misunderstanding of information, but being presented as a fact, which is interesting because happens in real life all the time. But it's not common to happen in a visual novel. Usually, a visual novel tends to give you information that is reliable because it's building up a structure that it uses later in the story. This game is kind of flipping that on its head and is blatantly kind of telling us as readers, look, you might not be getting good information. It's not even maybes and hums. It's more of people are going to be addressing this as if they know and as if they're telling you what's happening, and it's actually not happening. So that precedent has been set, and something I need to be better at keeping an eye out for. I shouldn't just take things at their face value, especially when it's the information coming from a character. The second point I wanted to talk about that is interesting is the Shion Mion type relationship. I was a little I wouldn't say frustrated, but I was kind of blindsided by the whole thing because I was really compelled with this idea that Shion and Mion were aspects of Mion, and I thought that was a fun way to break down the character. And at the end, I kind of concluded that it felt unfortunate that they kind of destroyed all that good character building and depth. Some of you pointed out that that's not necessarily the case, and I have to tell you, I do tend to agree based on what you were saying and some thought. Mion is still a good character, and Shion's a character now, and I believe that she's also a good character. Now that I've had time to think about it, you can start to kind of try and parse out the two characters as individuals, and it paints different pictures. It doesn't have as cool of a payoff as I was hoping for if they had been the same person, but it does still paint a compelling narrative. And it brings up a really interesting issue. Because another thing about misdirection is that they heavily imply that they trade spaces a lot. And when they do, we can't always trust what they are. So for instance, when Shion came to our house and gave us the bento box, that interaction, the language that was used in it, and the reaction of Mion when we brought the box back, that actually makes me think, even in hindsight of all the revelation that they are two different people, I think that was Mion pretending to be Shion, because Shion shouldn't have had information about that. But Mion would have known that he had met Shion, so he was aware of her. And it gave her an opportunity to be a different person and still be that vulnerable side of Mion that she wishes she could express. To be able to try and communicate that hurt that she had, right? I do think that was very real, very valid. Like, part of me does think that that was Mion pretending to be Shion. And then I imagine it could be another time too, or maybe they swapped again. Because I remember a time when we were walking home from school, and there was a split where they were talking about the Mion Shion difference, and Rena was kind of getting interested in the whole dynamic. And Mion at the time talked about Shion and was blatantly really, really highly speaking very highly of her. It was like, oh, Shion's the more womanly version. She's very great and elegant, unlike me, who's very much like an old man. Like, I get that Mion can be self-derogatory a little bit, but to that level, it felt almost too heavy-handed. So I could see Shion pretending to be Mion talking herself up really highly, more so than I think Mion would likely do, because Mion does feel very highly about herself. I don't think she'd talk herself down quite to that extent. So that's my theory. I think that they might have switched places a few times in this narrative. So just because it was looked like and talked like Shion and looked like and talked like Mion, I don't think it was always them. But I imagine that's being left up for debate. Anyway, enough about the rambling. Let's start the next chapter, because I think we're actually at the time now that it feels like we've kind of got like a narrative close. So I imagine we're actually going to be going to Watanagashi now, but I could be wrong. If we're not going to it today, we're prepping for it, because I think we've gotten past the fun, game-filled excitement of the early game, and we're going to start transitioning to the second half, which is going to be full of darkness, destruction, and death. The only other thing I can think of that hasn't been wrapped up is technically the finale of the games that we opened with at the toy shop. So maybe we're going to have a finale of that beforehand, but we'll see. Anyway, let's jump in. Man, that was a long intro. I'm sorry. There was a lot to talk about. The next day, it was a strange day where Mion was desperate to regain her composure. Every time our eyes met, she would say that she had something to do or that she had to use the washroom and run off. Unable to just watch, Rena was taking care of her the entire time. Like, Rena, I was like, I'm sorry. The sister was real. Yeah.
一部始終を知ってはいるんだが、なんとも説明しづらい。
女の子には不安定になる時もあるのです。
I would like to argue that men can also be emotionally unstable. I imagine that it just expresses itself differently, but trust me, guys feel emotions. We process it we can process it fairly differently, but it's still there, very relevant and very real. It's not unmanly to have emotions and to have them kind of crash out. In fact, we tend to express ours through physical action, sports, like fighting, whatever it is, but that's not necessarily always the case, especially for me. I'm the opposite. I'm not very I don't deal with my emotions through violence. I just never have.
放っておいてあげるのが一番なのですよ。
Yeah, I still think Keiichi should actually get the doll or something to make it up for Mion, because that's the other downside to everything. It's like, we had that great revelation. He has a better understanding of Mion's feelings, but inadvertently he just hurt her more because he walked into the store with her twin and was going to buy her twin the doll that she wanted him to get her, right? Like, that's the devious part of Shion. Like, Shion kind of knew that situation. She literally made it a game to win over Mion, which again, at the same time, you could tell that they're definitely very similar when you think of it that way. Turning around, I saw Rena calling me from the hallway. I wondered what it was.
ケイチくん、こっちこっち。
なんだよ、こんなとこに呼んで、内緒話か？
災難だったみたいだね。
Yeah, it wasn't entirely my fault though.
みーちゃん、かなり壊れてたけど、なんとか直しておいたから。
She seemed broken, but I got her working again. She's not a robot.
よく直せたな。一体どうやって？
テレビと同じ。
You turned her off and back on again.
斜め45度くらいの角度で、えいって。
She okay. Saying that, she made a chopping motion. Oh, jeez. You know, I can't tell if you're joking or not, right? I don't think she is.
明日からは大丈夫だから。だけど、ケイチくんにもお願いしたいことがあるの。
Yeah, Kate, I think he needs to do something too.
悪気はないんだが、なぜか罪の意識もある。何でも聞くぞ。
みーちゃんはね、昨日までの数日間のこと、なかったことにするから。
Never happened, huh? I see. Well, that's one way to run from it.
だからね、ケイチくんもなかったことにしてあげて。それでみーちゃん、いつも通りだから。
そんな簡単なことで、本当に大丈夫なのか？
お願いだから、みーちゃんの心の整理がつくまで、そっとしておいてあげてよ。
That's sad.
わかったよ。
Even though I shouldn't have been at fault, for some reason I felt guilty. The one at fault here was the one who knew about the entire situation and pretended to be Mion for an entire day, Shion. But she never once said that she was Mion. What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to be angry at? Seeing me stomping around impatiently, Rena giggled.
でも、ケイチくんもわかったでしょ？みーちゃんにも可愛いところがあるんだって。
Rena talked in a calm voice as her hair rustled in the wind.
ああ、退屈しないやつだということがわかった。
よかった。
Following this curt reply, Rena looked up at the sky and stretched.
ケイチくんがそれに気づいてくれれば、この数日間の出来事はすぐに笑い話になるんだよ。
Copying Rena, I also began to stretch as I looked at the sky. The clear sky into the distance.
今日は部活も何もなし。
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense.
今日だけは、申し訳ないけどケイチくん、下校は一人でいいかな。
Yeah.
明日からは元通りだから、今日だけ。ね。
Even knowing the terrifying darkness behind her eyes, like, this feels right. This feels good. This is like normal life. These things happen. It's hammed up and stuff, but I mean, we've all had experiences like this before. I think one of the worst things is that, like, I don't know, like, I imagine it happens more than you'd think, and some of you it might have happened and not know about it, but maybe on a reflection, if you think about it. Sometimes people have feelings for you, and you just don't know it, and you inadvertently hurt them by not acknowledging it, or like making light of it if it ever like is hypotheticalized, you know. Social gathering, or like imagine it happens too, because say for me it's happened before, like I'm at a social gathering or a party, and we're playing a game where you get partnered off or whatever, and somebody there has feelings for you. Their friends who are also there know they have feelings for you. So then you inadvertently get paired off, or you get purposely paired off, and they kind of get all like, ooh, you know, like being dramatic about it. They respond by getting really embarrassed, but you, or me in this case, being an idiot and blind, kind of says, hey, it's no big deal, we're friends. You know, just kind of friend zoning them right there in public when there was like clearly kind of a setup to try and like get us into a situation where we could like, you know, see if sparks fly, right? And immediately and inadvertently shutting it down because A, you just didn't see them that way, and B, you were kind of dense and didn't realize they saw you that way. And then in hindsight, or because somebody does like Rena and that kind of says like, hey, you messed up, then you realize it and you're like, oh crap. What do I do now? If it all took it for everything to go back to normal to leave Mion alone for today, then it was an easy decision to make.
わかったよ。ミオンに面と向かって言えないから、レナに言っとく。なんだか申し訳ないな。謝る。
元はといえば、ケイチくんが無神経なことを言うからいけなかったんだよね。これに懲りて、少しはデリカシーってものを身につけるんだよ。
へいへい。努力します。
I still feel like Rena is odd at being a mediator here, because like I understand that that's kind of like something she does, but at the same time, it also feels pretty biased because up until like the crisis, she does seem to have like feelings for him, and he seems to kind of have feelings for her, right? So while she's trying to help her friend, I also feel like she's going to be kind of a sabotaging force too, like to try and keep Mion away from him. Like, I could see that happening. That makes a lot of sense. And unfortunately, even for between friends, real friends, that can happen. The day was the shortest of my life. Rena was talking to Mion while accompanying her around the entire time. It looked like a really fun conversation, so I reflexively thought about joining in, but I had made a promise not to. It seemed that Mion was also trying her best to ignore me. So likewise, I did my best to ignore her. Aww. I still think Mion's the best character so far. This makes me sad. For the first time in a while, I ate lunch alone. Mion and Rena ate theirs by themselves. As I let out a sigh in my ashen mood, Rika-chan came over and patted me on the head.
ケイイチもミーもいっぱいいっぱいお勉強しましたですね。
I hope so. I'd never say it like that. It made it sound like we were having romantic problems. I didn't like that one bit. Hopefully, teacher wouldn't notice and call us all to the staff room after school or something.
きっとケイイチは素敵な大人になれますですよ。
Well, I appreciate the sentiment.
なでなで。
I appreciate the head pats.
リカちゃんはお勉強家だから、すごい素敵な大人になれそうだな。
もちろんなのですよ。
She's like, of course I will.
僕は大人になったらすごいすごいのです。あら、私も大人になったらすごいレディーになるんですのよ。
For some reason, I doubt that a little.
さとこはいくつになってもお子様だと思うぞ。かけてもいい。
なんですって？
I thought to go snapped her fingers in a wash bin. Wait, vision. Whoop, fell from above, hitting me squarely in the head.
いってー！何しやがんだ、さとこ
Bang, smash, pinch, squeeze. It was a day I could thoroughly appreciate the value of having friends. Well, all's well that ends well. Is that the way you're trying to say, game? Not sure if I believe that, but we'll go with it. Back to school again. I think it's supposed to be the next day. Today was Saturday, so school ended in the blink of an eye. Isn't that insane? That's something that, like, it's so funny because it's so casually mentioned in the game like this. But it's like I was shocked when I heard that, like, it's really common for school to be 5 full days a week and Saturday half days. Like, that's crazy to me. That's so much time to be in school. Really felt good to go home with the sun so high in the sky. On any other day, our club would have been up to mischief during our ample after-school time, but today, Rika-chan had a rehearsal for tomorrow's Watanagashi to go to.
リカちゃんはどんな調子？練習はバッチリ？
去年よりは頑張りますです。
去年は終わった後、ヘトヘトの汗だらけだったんだよね。
今年はもっともっと様になってますわよ。特訓の成果、ご期待あそばせですの。
The Watanagashi festival everyone had been talking about was tomorrow, wasn't it? The festival being in June felt a little early to me, but the onset of summer came quickly this year, so to fit the image of a summer festival pretty well.
じゃあ僕たちは失礼しますです。明日を楽しみになさいませ。
Oh, we will. It'll be the last dregs of joy.
それではごきげんようですわ。
Satoko and Rika-chan waved at us energetically, then left.
そういえば聞いてなかったんだけど、祭り会場ってどこなんだ？この辺って祭りのできそうな場所なんてあったっけ？
I don't know though. I thought in the first game by now we'd gone to the temple site.
フルデ神社でやるんだよ。ほら、以前にみんなでお散歩した時に言ったでしょ。
Look at that. The game's already called it out. Like, it's like, yep.
あの見晴らしの良かったところ。
Oh, right. I remember. There was a shrine all the way up on the hill, wasn't there? Seemed far too grand for Hinamizawa.
神社には立派な集会所とかもあって、老人会のカラオケとか習字サークルの会合とかを時々やってるからね。
And dress in creepy hoods and make sacrifices, right?
単なる神社というよりは公共施設のような雰囲気だね。
I do like that though. I think one thing that people tend to overlook when you talk about religion, like especially online, people can make religion, they can talk about it and get really heated, but you got to remember that even if you strip away the faith side of any religious practice, ultimately it's based in traditions and community. Because especially back in the day, that was like the only thing people did that was social, besides like trying to just not die. You know, you're farming and you're harvesting and you're selling and you're buying and doing all this stuff to try and keep your family fed and keep your lives like moving forward. But occasionally you'd go to the churches or go to the shrines, you'd get together, have a festival. These were like the video games and TVs and everything that we get to enjoy just like casually every day. Like it was a rare, I say rare event, but the thing is, if you go back in time too, festivals were way more common because it was like one of the only things that people could do. So they would make excuses. Some of them were big festivals, but sometimes it would just be like, hey, we're all gonna get to go end work a little early on this day. We're gonna get together and we're just gonna like spend time playing games or like learning stories or hearing like the scriptures or read the scrolls and did whatever it took to kind of build community. So having a shrine be a community center actually is very, very much tracks with what the role of most shrines and churches were throughout all of history.
なるほどね。それなら立派なのも納得かな。
みーちゃんちも今日の設営にはお手伝いに行くの？
うん男手がいるからね。
What, male hands for that? What, in a drawer?
町から親類が大勢手伝いに来るよ。
Male hands, huh? Well, I mean, I have nothing to do at home today, so...
俺みたいのが飛び入りで参加すると、かえって邪魔になるか？
え？ケイちゃん、手伝いに来てくれるの？
I like that blush that was there before, for a second.
迷惑なら行かねえよ。単なる興味だからさ。
We had bond dances and other festivals in towns I used to live in, but I didn't even know where they took place, much less wanted to help. You could say that I had absolutely no connection to the region. Having come to Hinamizawa, though, it really made me feel like this place was a home that I had to return to. Before I knew it, I had harbored a little interest in the small community activity preparing for a festival the day before. You know, it's so funny. Like, if there wasn't so much death and darkness, I'd be like, yes! Especially for someone who's like a kid. Kids get so caught up in just having like goofing around all the time. You don't realize like how much fun and bonding and social like the community building it is to go and help set up a festival, let alone participate in it. That's so cool. Man, I want to live in a town like this. Not this one, but one like this, without the veneer of death and demons. I wonder if you'd be able to. Yeah.
テントを立てたり、パイプ椅子を並べたり。
He can at least offer to help.
結構重労働って聞いてるよ。
別に俺一人でやるわけじゃないだろ。みんなでやればきっと早いぜ。
Mion looked happy to hear that, but at the same time, her expression was complex, tinged with hesitation. Rena gave her the last push for me.
じゃあ決定だね。行ってきなよ、ケイチくん。みーちゃんはビシビシこき使ってあげてね。
Uh-huh.
レナの推薦じゃ仕方ないな。じゃあさ、帰ったらラフな格好で神社に来なよ。汗拭き用のタオルもあるといいかもね。
Yeah.
よし来た。俺こう見えても太陽の下で汗をかくの嫌いじゃないんだぜ。
I'm sure you do.
せいぜい腰を痛めないようにね。じゃあおじさんはこの辺で。私も着替えたらすぐに神社に行くから。
みーちゃんも頑張ってね。バイバイ。
Mion waved vigorously to us and left. As far as I could tell from her gallant, retreating figure, she seemed to have recovered from the weak state she'd had yesterday. I don't know, dude. We saw the flicker.
女の子は切り替えが早いんだから。もうみーちゃんも大丈夫だよ。
うん。あれだけ綺麗に切り替えてくれると、こっちも実に合わせやすい。
でも面白かったでしょ？シンデレラみたいっていうのかな。魔法が解けたらもう会えないってところが。
Rena began to giggle a fair bit in amusement. Did she like that sort of thing? Incidentally, me going along with it gave me a weird, hard-to-describe feeling. Did I turn myself into a plaything, or did they do it for me?
そんなに面白いなら、レナももう一人の自分を演じればいいんじゃないか。
Don't ask for that!
面白そうだね。じゃあ、ケイチくんはどんなレナに会いたいかな？
Oh my gosh.
アイドル真っ青のルックスと、俺の言うこと何でも確実に聞く器量よして頼む。
You know what? I didn't know what direction he was gonna go. I didn't expect that one.
そんなの無理。
料理上手でお昼のお弁当を作ってくれて、朝は迎えに来てくれて。
それいつもやって
She's like, I do
る。
that already. I pulled Rena's head into a tight grip and started to pet it.
竜宮レナなんだろ。レイナじゃなくてレナ。だからレナはいつまでもレナのまんまでいろ。
ありがとう。お祭りのお手伝い頑張ってね。
おう、明日祭りで会おうな。
Oh boy. I got changed right away, and slinging a towel around my neck like Mion suggested, I set off for the shrine. There we are. At the shrine, there were more people than you'd imagine even live in Hinamizawa there. all coordinating off areas and setting up tent frameworks, chatting amongst themselves as they did so. All right, where's Mion? The liveliness of the throng didn't make it easy to look for her. I searched around as if I already worked there, and suddenly the principal called out to me.
前原君であるか。関心である。綿流しの準備のお手伝いに来たのかね。
ああ、どうも。何かお手伝いできないかなって思いまして。
殊勝な心がけである。存分に汗を流すがよいぞ。
Spurred on by the principal, I came to a group of people setting up tents.
ありゃ、前原の兄ちゃんじゃねえの。ひょっとして手伝いに来たのかい？
I hadn't found Mion yet, but I suppose I'd get in her way if I ran into her.
おっす！手伝いに来ました。よろしくお願いします。
若いのは元気があっていいね。ほら、軍手つけてテントは組んだことあるかい？
いえ、初めてっす。
Delighting in teaching a new skill to someone younger, plenty of people happily taught me all sorts of things.
じゃあ、兄ちゃんは天幕の内側に入って天骨の紐だけ結んで。結んだら足を立てて残りの紐も結ぶからな。
蝶々結びでいいんですよね。よいしょ。よいしょ。
Nice.
結んだか。立てるぞ。いっせーの。
What was once nothing more than a collapsed tent was raised on 4 splendid legs before my eyes in mere moments. Whoa. Seeing it put together like this is actually pretty moving. The closest thing I've done like big tent awnings before, but they're doing like proper tents with staking probably. The closest I've done to that was setting up like big camping tents like when I was in Scouts. And these things were like 8 to 10 men tents, and the way that the polings worked was that you would set up essentially the roof would be like have like tension rods and like had curved sections, so it had like almost like a rectangle but with round edges. And once that was taut and set in the middle, then you'd have these poles that you would like kind of put into the 4 corners, and you would lift up and you'd hoist up and then like prop into the ground, where then they would you'd stake them. And then you'd pull like these drawstrings tight and like stake the cords, and it would keep the tent walls like really stiff and upright. And they were made of canvas too. And I remember they were fantastic because like the setup took a few people, but once they were set up, you had a lot of headroom, had plenty of floor space. And when we had like some of the stormy nights when we were camping, they held up brilliantly and kept all the water out. They were fantastic. And they were like miniature versions of like the marquee type tents that I'm guessing they're doing here.
ほれほれ、感動してる場合じゃないぞ。まだまだたくさんあるんだからな。トラックにテントを積んであるから、ここまで持ってきな。重いから2人でやれよ。
大丈夫っすよ。俺こう見えても結構力あるんすから。
Actually, I am sure you are, but there's also like they're huge. Yeah, they look light enough, so I thought they were, but they're heavy.
だから2人で運べって言ったろ。ほれほれ。
Said the man, lifting it up with a grunt and taking it away under his arm. Either I'm weak or these old guys have superhuman strength.
ほら、一番若いんだから汗しないとダメだぞ。頑張れ頑張れ。終わった後のビールがうまいぞ。
俺未成年だし。
Sweat dripping from my body. I've been fully and completely absorbed in helping them. I would never have thought that a cold barley tea from a women's society could taste this delicious.
若いからね。担当のみ。
ありがとうございます。
It was then that I realized a crowd had formed near the shrine a ways off. Oh, what's going on here? When I took a closer look, I saw a girl dressed in shrine maiden garb and a handful of old men looking like they were preparing for the ceremony together.
リカちゃんか？おーいリカちゃん頑張れよ
I shouted, and it seemed like she heard me. Rika-chan, positively exploding with vitality, answered with a smile. Alright, we gotta do the phase again. Aww, the remake actually looks fantastic. And the original looks like the original. When the older guys with me watched Rika-chan as well with distant gazes.
リカちゃまも頑張るな。去年に比べるとだいぶ板についてきたみたいだしな。
The old lady who gave me the tea clasped what looked like prayer beads in her hand and said,
リカ様ありがたやありがたや
and just like that began to respectfully pray to her. Huh? So I just remembered that they called this the Furude Shrine. Wasn't Rika-chan's full name Rika Furude? The man standing next to me answered my question.
そうだよ。リカちゃまのフルデ一族は代々大社様をお祭りする由緒正しい一族なんだよ。
Huh. I'd always got the feeling she wasn't quite your average person, but it turned out she was from an esteemed family.
昨年神主様だったお父さんが亡くなられてからはああやって頑張って祭事を引き継いでおるんだよ。
You know, it's funny. I absolutely knew that was the order of operations, but it was just occurring to me to think about it that way. So, the year before last was when her father got by the I think the cult or the curse, whatever. And then she had to step up and take over. And maybe that's why she's so terrified, because in her mind, whether she believes it or not, like if she believes in the curse especially, in her eyes, her father failed and was killed, and now she's in charge of doing everything, and if she messes up, she could be next. That's why she was so stressed about it.
神主様に見せたかったの。
え、リカちゃんのお父さんってお亡くなりになったんですか？
よし、休憩終わり。
Subject change.
次は使わないパイプ椅子を沖小の体育館に戻しちゃおっか。マーキさん、K を回して何人か連れてってよ。
じゃあ前原君、最後にもう一働きしようか。
Ugh. You gonna make me do more work? I can't tell if they know I'm a minor or not, but the older men all cheer me on and encourage me to do my best. That beer will be great. Hey, there she is. I passed by Mion. She was carrying a big cardboard box that looked like she was right in the middle of working as well. Judging by the sweat seeping into her shirt, it seemed that I wasn't the only one with his hands full.
おお、頑張ってるぜ。ミオンも頑張れよ。ビールがうまいぞ。
We were working to the bone until the sun began to set and started cooling off. Oh wow. It was soon a full-fledged night, and the clear sound of the Higurashi eased my moderate pain I felt. The older guys began their night before drinking party in a tent a fair bit off, causing quite a ruckus. The shrine grounds, on the other hand, had turned into a lonely road tickled by the cool evening breeze, despite being so festive just a little while ago. The wind felt good. I leaned on one of the stone guardian dogs at the front of the shrine and gave my legs a good stretch as I let my mind wander. Suddenly, a paper cup filled with barley tea was thrust before me.
ケイちゃんお疲れ様。
Oh, is that actually you?
はい、麦茶です。
お、気が利くな。サンキュー、み。
Her voice sounded exactly the same, but felt somehow different.
あ、お前は。
どうも、シオンです。
Uh-huh. I feel conflicted now. I don't know what to say.
気が利いているのはシオンの方。聞いてないのがミオンの方ですので、お間違いなきよ。
シオン、てめえ、ここで会ったが100年目。
Good answer.
ケイちゃんが勝手に勘違いしたんですよ。私は初めからシオンとしか名乗ってませんし。
それを言われると弱い。
そうそう。お姉にすらかなわないケイちゃんが私にかなうわけないんですからね。それより麦茶ぬるくなっちゃいますよ。
うん。
もう機嫌直してください。だからこれ仲直りの麦茶ってことで。
I don't know if I trust it then. Like, what have you done to the tea? No, she won't. That doesn't seem her style. But still, I'd be like, well, she did come all the way here to give it to me. I guess I'll accept it. Took the cup and downed it one gulp. And then suddenly, I heard a loud shout. It got stuck in my throat. Again, you should have known.
今度はどっちだ？本物のミオンか？
シオン！あんた、なんでまたケイちゃんと一緒にいるわけ？お姉と違って、私は気配りとかできるタイプですから。
Hey! Chill. Stop we're trying to fix things here. Stop it.
汗だくになってたケイちゃんを放っておけなくて麦茶を持ってきたわけです。ところでお姉はなんで麦茶を2つも持ってるんですか？
Dang it! Shion, stop it! Mion's face went red and she tried to hide the paper cups behind her back.
いや、これは大雑把で自分さえ良ければいいお姉がクラスメートの男の子に海外しく麦茶を持ってくるわけないですよね。
Alright, Shion, you know, I was a fan of you, but you're losing lots of points here. I'm terrified of, like, she's so devious, and she's specifically targeting Mion. Like, this is brutal.
結局何なんです？その2つの麦茶は。これは、
Come on, Keiichi, step up, be like, Mion, I would love some tea.
すっごく喉が渇いちゃって2杯は飲めるかなーなんて。
No.
お姉らしい。それ一気一気。
So Shion cheered at her. Mion downed both cups of tea, one after the other.
さすがはお姉、見事な飲みっぷりでした。ケイちゃんも拍手拍手。
Wait, suddenly the situation got unbelievable. Mion doesn't usually get manipulated so easily like this. I've known for a while now, but Shion is terrifying. I agreed.
ミオンってシオンには頭上がらないのか？
私シオン嫌い。この前からもっと嫌いになった。
And just then, I heard a snap of a camera shutter.
こんばん
Oh,
は。
well. Hello, future dead people.
いよいよ明日がお祭りだね。今日は準備お疲れさん。
こんばんは。あら、シオンちゃん、珍しいわね。こっちへ来るなんて。
ありゃ、富武のおじさまに高野さんじゃないですか。
Takano, that's her name.
こんばんは。ご無沙汰いたしております。
君が噂の転校生、前原圭一君だね。
We've met before now.
今日は張り切って仕事してたね。感心したよ。
I feel like I've seen the photographer guy before. You have!
どこかでお会いしてますよね。
覚えててくれて嬉しいね。圭一君とは道で何度かすれ違ってるよ。
I feel like it's being vague, probably because there was a good gap between the first chapter and second chapter, so it's kind of like assuming that you might have forgotten about him. How could you, though? He was such a pivotal part of, like, what's gonna happen in the next, like, 48 hours.
僕は富武。東京から来てるフリーのカメラマンさ。
じゃあ、私はわかるかしら？
I do.
すみません、覚えがないです。
高野美代さんだよ。ケイちゃんはまだ風邪とかで診療所のお世話にはなってない？
Oh, okay,
美代
okay.
さんは診療所で看護
That's
師さんをやっ
right.
てるんだよ。
Okay. So, yeah, she was a nurse.
高野よ。よろしくね。治療に来るときは教えてね。
Oh,
止めの注射針を用意しておくから。
you're terrifying.
そりゃご丁寧にどうも。
Tomitaka-san seemed to be quite entertained by the Sotozaki twins being there at the same place. He took a picture after picture.
話には聞いていたけど、一卵性ソーセージってのは初めて見たよ。
Yeah.
本当にそっくりなんだな。
そっくりなのは外見だけじゃないんですよ。
Oh my gosh, are you serious?
下着もお揃い。
What are you saying?
あんた何すんの？
I agree. Things have never been as lively as when the two of them are together. I thought they were exactly the same at first, but I'm starting to get a handle on which one is which. Mion is Mion, and Shion, well, she seems a far better actor than Mion was. In the first place, somebody that could spurn Mion so easily wouldn't have shown such weakness to those those lard buckets at Angel Mort. If that were the case, then that cowardly behavior from that day was all a complete act.
あの二人、昔はもっとそっくりでね。
I'm sure they were terrifying.
ご両親でもどっちがどっちかわからなくて手を焼いていたそうよ。
すごく想像に容易です。ご両親のご苦労がよくわかります。
Yeah, I can feel for them, that's for sure. Takano gave me a kind of odd look, but explaining things would have been a pain, so I didn't bother.
富武のおじさまはまた綿流しの取材が終わったら東京にとんぼ帰りですか？
うん。本当はいつまでも滞在していたいんだけどね。しがない大人の都合ってやつさ。
お写真が早く素敵な賞を取るといいですね。お祈りしていますね。
ありがとう。今度来るときには今日撮った君たちの写真も持ってくるよ。
今日は前原くんもお疲れ様。慣れない力仕事で疲れたでしょ？
まあ、疲れたけど、結構楽しかったです。
Yeah, yeah.
若さね。羨ましいわ。
Takano-san smiled with an adult elegance that no one in my circle of friends possessed. The wind caught her hair. She gave off an intelligent beauty.
おやおや、
Oh,
皆さん、
boy.
こんにちは。
Hello, bucket of water. I'm surprised you're here. Seems like our merry crowd is starting out. This time, an overweight older man addressed us. And again, it was someone I thought I knew. If I recall correctly, he's a policeman, isn't he?
あら、大石さん。こんばんは。明日の警備の下見ですか？
はははは。そんなところです。おや、富武くんじゃないですか。ご無沙汰しておりますね。
僕の名前を覚えていてくださったとは。
あなたもつくづくひなみざわが好きですな。ここいらへんは東京よりもずっとアパートは安いですよ。
Oh, yeah, I bet.
いっそ引っ越してくればいいのに。仲のいい不動産屋を紹介しますよ。
それは嬉しいですね。その節はぜひお世話になりたいです。
ではでは皆さん、良いお年を。園崎の双子さんも良いお年を。
良いお年を、
Oh,
大石刑事。
she's cold to him too. Interesting.
お仕事よろしくお願いしますね。
That's actually true. Because if I remember correctly, now, who was it that was defending us from, like, who summoned the mob? Was it Shion or Mion? Because I got the feeling it was Mion because of that, like, how aggressive it is. But look at Shion here. She's got that same attitude again. So maybe it was her. Wonder what her role is in everything. Because remember, I'm still a hardcore, like, on the side of it's a cult and it's people that are doing all that. Like, it's not actually a curse. Or it's like it's a curse that's brought about by people who believe in it rather than actually existing. So it does seem like Shion might have been the one that defended us, because I thought it was Mion.
今年は皆さんの手を煩わせない綿流しにしたいです。
Yeah.
こりゃ手厳しい。
Detective Oishi left with a low laugh and headed off to talk to some police officers standing a ways away. I gave Mion a glance and saw her making an annoyed face as if she were glaring bullets at someone she hated.
そうね。今年は警察のお世話にならない綿流しになるといいわね。
Yeah.
君も好きだね。
あら、二郎さんは嫌い？私、そういう夢のある話好きよ。潤いのない時代だからこそ、そういうのに憧れるの。
I got that feeling too. She seems way too interested in like the curse, but it's odd because she ends up vanishing. So, did she never feel like she was in danger?
お社様のたたりか。
Here it is. Curse? Tomitaka-san used a troubling word. Then suddenly someone tugged on my arm.
ケイちゃん、私お腹空いちゃったからさ、酒盛りのテントに行ってお菓子でも食べてこない？
そうだな。俺もちょっとお腹が減ったかな。
行こう行こう。
A moment later, Shion said something to Takano and Tomitaka that stung my ears and gave me a start.
今年は誰が死んで、
Ugh,
誰が
bitch.
消えるんでしょうね。
Shion, you just coming out with it. I pulled back from Mion's grip and stopped abruptly.
シオン、今、なんて言ったんだ？
Mion's like, don't do this. Felt like the air dried out all of a sudden.
行こうよケイちゃん。つまんない話だよ。お姉はまだケイちゃんに話してないの？私、そういう話は吹き込まない主義なの。
Oh, here's a real battle though. Like Mion, like she might falter in other things, but this is something Mion's like desperately like, don't get him involved in this right now. Shion's cold and quiet tone and Mion's harsh voice were quite the contrast.
おいおいおいおい、何の話だよ。知ってるなら教えてくれよ。俺だけのけ者なんて。 なんだか気分悪いぞ。
I don't understand. Someone explain that to me. However, Mion didn't seem to be at all willing to grant my request. She squeezed my hand in hers a bit, but when she realized I would hold my ground on this topic, she let go.
じゃあさ、私先に酒盛りのテントに行ってるよ。早く来ないとケイちゃんの分なくなっちゃうからね。
まあ、わかってるって。すぐ行くから。
Mion loses again. Mion left, trotting towards the particularly noisy tent on the other side of the shrine grounds. Before she got there, she stopped and turned back around. I showed no signs of going after her, though, so she ran off. Gosh darn it. You could have really done a lot of, repair there.
もしも聞いてないんだったら話してもいいけど、ひょっとすると聞かないで彼女と一緒にお菓子を食べに行った方が賢明かもしれないよ。
Hey now, you already got my full attention here. I'm not going to leave without asking at this point.
ケイちゃんにも聞く権利があると思います。お姉はその権利を奪ってただけです。
Shion's voice was bristling with thorns as if somehow blaming Mion.
一体何の話だって言うんですか？あんまりもったいぶられると不愉快ですよ。
Takado-san, realizing how prepared I was, looked across the group. After confirming that there's no objection, she opened her mouth.
前原君はタタリを信じるかしら？
Yeah, it's interesting because this conversation we did have in the first chapter with her, where she and oh gosh, I can't think of his name. The photographer guy. I know he's been here. I don't know why his name's escaping me right now. But they had this conversation with us, but after the festival.
タタリですか？面白いとは思いますけど、あんまり信じては。
I felt their cynical stares and winced. It was like they were telling me that it was strange or not to believe in curses.
ケイちゃんは間違ってないですよ。タタリなんて迷信もいいとこ。信じなくて当たり前です。
そうね。それにタタリを信じるかどうかは話を最後まで聞いてからゆっくり考えればいいことなんだから。
Now, come on. Now it feels like you're actually talking to the viewer, not to him. Said Takado-san, giving a little smile. They're trying to scare me. At least that's what it feels like.
じゃあ、少し僕が話そうか。圭一君は、Hinamizawaダム計画を知ってるかい？
Oh yeah, the other day Angel Mort, Shion, or Mion rather, told me about it.
確か、Hinamizawaが丸ごと水没する巨大なダムの計画が発表されたって言うんですよね。
その通り。それに反対するために住民運動が結成され、国と激しい戦いを繰り広げたんだ。
I've heard that too. The entire village united, using all their powers at their disposal, mass media, political influence, and other things, and fought the country. The way Mion described it made it sound like a boast.
あれ？ずいぶん詳しいじゃないか。その通りさ。わずか1000人ちょいの村人たちが中心になって結束して、国の施策を跳ね返したという、ちょっとした武勇伝なんだ。
その辺はお姉に聞かされてませんか？この辺りの武勇伝はお姉も好きですからね。
ああ、話してたよ。
そのHinamizawaの人たちが結束して旗揚げした反対同盟の事務所があったのがね、この神社なんだよ。
ほら、あの集会所がその名残よ。
Right.
解散後は老人会のサークル活動にしか使われてないけど、当時はまさに最後の砦だったの。
Yeah, see, this is where it starts feeling like it's a cult thing more than anything. It was where they coordinated it all. Takano-san explained this, pointing a finger towards the assembly hall. I've been carrying things in and out of there all day. I mean, I would understand if they put an office like that in the mayor's house or something. But having an office on Shrine Grounds made it feel like a base camp of Sengoku period warriors.
そんな心境だったんだろうね。彼らはHinamizawaの守り神様であるお社様を祀る神社に本陣を置くことで必勝を祈願したんだよ。
That was definitely it. They mentioned Oyashiro-sama's curse before. Is it the same Oyashiro-sama?
圭一君はお社様は知ってるかい？この神社の祀る神様の名前だよ。Hinamizawaを守ってると伝えられてる。
いや、よくは知らないです。
そうか。じゃあ、ここから先は高野さんの方が詳しいかな。タッチ。
Accurate.
平たく言えばそのままよ。お社様はこのHinamizawaに伝わる古い神様で、 神聖なこの地が属性に汚されることがないよう守り続けてきたと伝えられてるわ。
I guess you can find that sort of god anywhere you go.
お社様崇拝は一種の先民思想の表れではないかと研究されているわね。先民思想って言葉わかるかしら？
Right. Believing yourself chosen, a nationalistic belief that you're part of a superior race or that your special clan was chosen by the gods. They believe that they're a superior clan, so they believe strongly in cooperating with others, but they also end up being exclusionary toward other clans. I won't go into too much detail, but it's the sort of national and religious ideals that led to war. Yeah, hint, hint, nudge, nudge. Of course, that goes for Japan too.
大昔のHinamizawaの人たちは自分たちは人間とは異なる格の違う存在だと強く信じていてね。
They probably didn't see themselves as demons, but it's probably what led to people calling them that.
下界との交流を汚れとして意味嫌ったそうなの。だから村に下界の人間が来ると汚れてお社様の罰が当たると強く信じ、何者も近寄らせなかったそうよ。
よそ者を嫌う村ってよく推理小説に出てくるだろ？
Yeah.
典型的なそういう村だったらしいんだよ。
一応名誉のために断りますけど、大昔のことですからね。今は違います。
Shion followed up quickly, having sensed the thorns in Tomitaka-san's words. Tomitaka-san, embarrassed of what he'd said, scratched his head. So the shrine worships Oishio-sama, thinks of Hinamizawa as holy ground, and the symbol of the traditional hatred of the outside world.
なるほど。だから、下界からやってきた、汚れたダム計画に立ち向かうために、Hinamizawaの守り神様の神社に本陣を置いたと。
Correct. Smiled Takano, pleased. She must dislike stupid people.
円担ぎも万端。村人たちは視力を尽くしてダム計画に立ち向かうんだ。その最中なんだよ。事実上、あの事件でとどめが入ったと言ってもいい。
Murder. Oishio-sama's curse.
Hinamizawaダムの建設現場の監督がですね、4年前かな。結構派手に新聞に載ったんですけど、覚えてません？
ちょっと知らないな。
部下と喧嘩して、ツルハシでめった打ちにされて、両手両足、首をもいで捨てられたんだそうです。
Man, this is weird too, because so at this point in the story, he should have, because he came across the story in the junkyard, but this is actually the first time someone's speaking it to him, as far as we know. And that delivery is way more intense than reading it in a newspaper. Especially from Shion.
バラバラ殺人だよ。一頃流行ったろ。
Such a gruesome incident. But it was just that, an incident. A person caused the incident, after all. Should they really put that down as a curse?
その翌年にはね、Hinamizawaの住人でありながら、旅行先で崖から落ちて死んじゃったの。これは事故だそうよ。
何しろ、Hinamizawa中から敵視されていたからね。警察もかなり念入りに他殺の線を洗ったんだけど、結局、事故と断定したみたいだよ。
Now it's an accident. This is the most cursed-like one, but it's still far-fetched.
さらに翌年、今度はね、この神社の神主さんが原因不明の病で倒れて急死しちゃったの。
前の神主さんは、こう言っちゃ失礼ですけど、ちょっと日和見な人だったんですよね。
So he wasn't even like against everything. He was just like passive and like wanted to like hear other sides.
村中が反ダムで盛り上がってるのに、神主さんは放っておけみたいな感じで。
See, like that's the thing though. I feel like it still is like it makes more sense of it being a people motivated thing, because first they went after like someone who was actively helping build the dam. Second was going after the leader of the people who were willing to let the dam happen. But then third, they went after the priest that was like just more passive. That's like they got rid of like the most like obstructive people, but then they're slowly getting rid of people who were like maybe getting in the way of letting the cult flourish.
抵抗運動の象徴である神社の神主さんがそんな感じなんだからね。リーダーシップを期待していた当時の村人たちは失望し、中には怒りを抱く人たちもいたそうよ。
Yeah.
だから当時、年寄り連中はみんな言ったんです。これはお社様のたたりだってね。
It did seem like every year, dam-related people in the village had resentment towards were dying. It was pretty creepy.
しかもね、面白いことに、これらの事件や事故は、毎年必ず、綿流しのお祭りの晩に起こるんだよ。
Yep.
ね、ちょっとたたりっぽくなってきたでしょ。
さらに翌年、つまり去年だね。今度は、事故死したダム推進派のリーダー格の男の弟夫婦の奥さんが撲殺死体で発見されちゃったんだ。もちろん犯人は捕まったけどね。
ね、やっぱりたたりっぽいでしょ。
4 years in a row. Each one of the incidents and accidents were relatively commonplace. Every single one of them happening on the night the festival worshipped Oyashiro-sama? That's not normal.
年寄り連中はこの数年の事件ですっかりお社様のたたりを盲信しちゃって、若い人たちだって最初はバカにしてましたけど、今は誰も茶化しませんね。
Yeah, I can see where she's coming from. Even me, I didn't think there was a curse at all. Thinking about all the incidents like this made me feel like maybe it's real.
例えば、今日のお祭り準備にしてもそうさ。ダムとの戦いで荒れていたとはいえ、何年か前までは綿流しはそんなに盛況していたわけじゃないんだ。
Right.
まあ、そうですね。お社様のたたりの話がなかったら、こんなにお祭りには集まりませんね。不信心者には罰が当たるかもしれない。だからお社様のお祭りには必ず出ようって言ってる人たち多いです。
Right. Shion nodded as if she were mocking herself.
どうかな。圭一君もひょっとしてたたりは本当にあるのではという気になってきたんじゃないかな。
I mean, I feel like it's more a direct question to me, and I think it's like there's a nugget there. It's like it really could be supernatural. There's some stuff that just doesn't make sense, but I still think 99% of it easily could, like 80% easily, 20% weird, but still could be described by a bunch of fanatical cult members who are using it to get for political, economic, social, and spiritual gain. Like they might believe in the curse, but they're bringing it about. They're being the tools of Oyashiro-sama. I mean, you can't just laugh off people related to the dam construction project all dying like that. If even I feel like this now, the more superstitious members of the village must feel stronger than that.
まあ、それでも、たたりなんかないと思ってます。ですけど、信じる人たちの気持ちもわかるつもりです。
さすが。ケイちゃんは冷静に判断できてますね。
Oh yeah, sure for now. Shion grinned, realizing I'd rejected the curse.
たたりでもなく偶然のはずもないなら。さて、これらの事件はどういうことになるのかしらね。
I clicked early. There's neither curse nor coincidence, then what should we make of these incidents? Takano-san said, smiling playfully as if posting a riddle. Neither a curse nor coincidence, but every year someone dies. What should we make of that then? Tomatake-san catching on to the fact that I had no idea what to make of it, opened his mouth and came to my aid.
高野さんはね、人間の仕業かもしれないって言ってるんだよ。
Eh? Simple process of elimination would have got me there. I was a little taken aback by not having realized the answer immediately.
だってそうでしょ？たたりでもなく偶然でもないなら、人の意志が働いてるとしか考えられないもの。
Takano-san pressed on, smiling bitterly in spite of myself. Here I was just a few minutes ago thinking about the very concept of a curse was absolutely absurd. When she suggested it was someone's doing, I ended up thinking there wasn't any way it could be a person. But Takano-san was right. It was either a curse or it was a person's doing. If unrealistic things like curses didn't exist, then the obvious next step would be to start thinking it was people behind it. But if that were the case, I glanced at Shion.
人間が犯人なら、確かにHinamizawaの誰かが犯人なんでしょうね。
And that's scary. That's something would be dangerous to even question.
現に警察の大石さんはそう見てますから。
おいおい、そんなわけあるのかよ。
I thought I now knew the reason why Mion didn't want to talk about this. If Oyashiro-sama's curse really existed, then that's fine. It would be divine judgment from the dam project business. However, if Oyashiro-sama's curse didn't exist, which it obviously didn't, then the culprit would have been most likely be someone from Hinamizawa. The villagers had worked desperately to oppose the dam construction project. I knew they had used all sorts of methods to fight against it. If one of those methods was, maybe...
お社様のたたりは、ダム計画抵抗運動の暗部じゃないかって囁かれてるんです。
Yeah. Shion dryly put words to my exact thoughts. Of course, I didn't expect it. She was from Hinamizawa, so I didn't think she would come out and say it herself.
ちょっと落ち着いて考えれば、誰が見たってHinamizawaの誰かの仕業だってわかることです。
Shion, I'm not sure if I'm a huge fan of you or not, but at least we can agree on this. I think she and I are thinking on the same wavelengths.
ダム工事に反対して得をする人以外、動機がないじゃないですか。
それはそうだけど。
Admitting to the existence of the darker side of the dam conflict would be rude to Mion, who spoke so highly of it. So I couldn't just accept Shion's seemingly logical viewpoint.
それにね、警察の人は知らないだろうけど、Hinamizawaの人間にはわかる、Hinamizawaの人間の犯行だという証拠があるんです。
Now that's news. Shion rebuked me to keep my voice down.
ごめん。でもその証拠って一体。
必ず一人が死んで、もう一人が消えるからです。
And maybe the person who disappears, the person who does it? One more person disappears. Did that mean that someone besides the one who died from the curse was the sacrifice?
消えるって意味がよくわからないな。それは失踪するって意味か？
そうです。忽然と、跡形もなく。
As she spoke, Shion pretended to do a trick with her hand like she was making a magician's hat disappear. One dies a mysterious death and one disappears never to be seen again. A strange vanishing act. But then why? How does this equate to someone from Hinamizawa being the culprit?
実はね、Hinamizawaの古い伝統の一つにね、お社様の怒りを鎮めるために生贄を捧げたというのがあるの。
生贄？
Yeah.
すまきにされて底なし沼に生きたままじわじわと時間をかけて沈めたんです。
Now that's new. Takano-san, though explaining something pretty terrible, has a look of glee on her face as she did so.
文献を調べた限りでは3日3晩をかけて本当にゆっくりとじわじわと沈めたそうよ。
That's so horrifying.
ほら、昔の人って結構ダジャレが好きでしょ？沈めるをかけてたんだと思うの。だから時間をかけて沈めるという意味があったんでしょうね。
Takano-san was the only one laughing at this. Was she telling a joke or something? Shion didn't move to deny it, but I felt difference in temperature between her cool expression and Takano-san's.
この辺の話は、まあ聞いて想像がつくと思いますけど、Hinamizawaの秘史です。
Yeah.
Hinamizawaに昔からいる人なら誰でも知ってますが、それを口に出すことはありませんね。
So why are you talking about it?
高野さんはHinamizawa出身じゃないけどね。彼女は郷土史とか民間伝承とかが好きでね。全部独学で調べたんだよ。
Yeah.
そんなにかっこいいものじゃないのよ。単なる知的好奇心。子供と同じよ。ただの怖いもの見たさ程度なんだから。
Tomitaka-san laughed, a little bit embarrassed.
ちょっと待ってください。ってことは何ですか？事件のたびに消えるという一人は生贄に捧げられているって言うんですか？
Yeah. Shion answers in one word before anyone else can speak. Someone dies, someone disappears.
本当に生贄にされてるかどうかは別にして、過去の事件では必ず一人が死ぬ他に一人が消えてるんだよ。例えば一番最初のダム現場の監督が殺された事件も、複数犯のうちの最後の一人が未だ逮捕されてないらしいんだ。
それは単にうまく逃げおおせてるだけなんじゃないんですか？別に生贄にされたというのとは違うのでは？
まあ僕もそうだとは思うんだけどね。で、次の年のダム推進派のリーダー格の男なんだけど、
確か旅行先で崖から落ちて亡くなったんですよね。
落ちたのは奥さんも一緒らしいの。 警察は懸命に捜索したんだけど、どうしても奥さんの遺体だけ見つけられないんですって。崖下の川は増水してたそうだからね。どこか川下の湖の湖底で土砂にでも埋まってしまったのかもしれないけどね。
The perpetrator of dismemberment like that wouldn't want to be caught, so they disappear to run away and hide too. I thought I'd heard about cases where corpses wouldn't surface after the person drowned in a swelled river like that. She vanished because of an unfortunate accident, but still didn't see the connection to sacrifices. If you took each past incident in turn, none of the disappearances evoked that terrifying of an image.
その翌年の神主の病死の時ははっきりしてます。奥さんが遺書を残したんです。死んでお社様のお怒りを鎮めに参ります。ってな感じのが、神主さんが亡くなった晩に自宅に残されてたそうですから。
See, I don't think they had that detail in the first chapter, so that's interesting to know that, like, part of her suicide note was that she wanted to quell the spirit of Oyashiro-san. The curse, it seemed to turn up in this one, though.
まあ、真相は闇の中なんだけどね。その奥さんが受水自殺した沼は、さっき高野さんも話した例のでっかい底なし沼ってことになっててね。警察も沼を調べたそうだけど、遺品がいくつか見つかっただけで遺体は発見できなかった。警察は偽装自殺を疑って今でも探してるらしいよ。
Someone dies every year in the same way, someone goes missing every year. Is she trying to tell me that everyone who vanished was kidnapped by extremely efficient means and dumped into the bottomless swamp, still alive and drowned to death? But a curse, that's unbelievable in its own right.
その翌年には、なんだっけ、ダム推進派の男の弟夫婦の奥さんだっけ
Right.
が殺されたんだよな。
So at the time, someone else vanished?
消えました。北条聡君っていう私と同い年の男の子です。
Hitting Satoshi's name a little early this time.
殺された主婦の義理の甥にあたります。
Huh. Shion cut in with a slightly strong tone of voice. She knew the boy who disappeared pretty well, at least that's the vibe I was getting.
まあ、ざっとこんな感じね。必ず一人が死んで、必ず一人が忽然と消える。
Leaving the suddenness aside, the fact that each incident involved one person disappearing.
じゃあ、つまり、一人目が死ぬのはお社様のたたりで、二人目が失踪するのは村人が生贄に捧げてるからだって言うんですか？
ケイちゃん、たたりなんかないです。誰かがお社様のたたりという名で一人目を殺し、誰かがその生贄として二人目をさらってるんです。
Shion's trying to say that the first incident is a willful act by somebody who's using the curse as a cover. The second person could be somebody who's either being killed as a use of a cover or is by people who believe the curse is real and are trying to placate the spirit from killing anyone else.
でもシオン、それじゃあ村の中に犯人がいるってことになるんだぞ。
私は初めからそう睨んでます。結構ショックですよ。この昭和の時代にそんな古い因習で人殺しが堂々と行われるなんて。
It didn't have anything to do with our discussion, but I got the feeling that maybe Shion didn't like Hinamizawa very much. Mion enjoyed talking about Hinamizawa and his epic tales, so she had avoided talking about Oyashiro-sama's curse and what didn't paint Hinamizawa in a good light no matter how you looked at it. She was trying not to give me a bad impression of the village, so she didn't say anything. Shion, on the other hand, was different somehow. She wasn't rejecting the concept of a curse to purge Hinamizawa of this bad impression, but rather because she strongly believed that the members of the village was a criminal behind this. Her conviction seemed a bit removed from the tight sense of community held by the people of Hinamizawa. Once upon a time, they looked so alike you could mistake one for the other. But talking to her now, it was getting a powerful feeling that Shion had a completely different personality than Mion.
じゃあ皆さんはHinamizawaの誰かが犯人だと思ってるんですね。
That's the trouble. Neither Shion nor Takano answered that. The deafening silence told me all I needed to be said.
じゃあ重ねて質問します。Hinamizawaの誰かが犯人なら、犯人は誰なんですか？
Well, I mean, if we knew that, neither Shion nor Takano had a reply to that question either. Though it may have been rude to ask, I would hope I had hoped they wouldn't have one. The reason I asked was to argue that their explanation of the culprit was from Hinamizawa was nothing more than one possibility. Shion caught onto my plan. She gave a painted smile at my petty spite and opened her mouth to speak.
私が言ったのは、所詮状況証拠ですからね。具体的に犯人の名前を知ってたなら、警察に突き出してます。
Yeah, as would anyone. Then what about Takano-san? She too smiled dryly as Shion had and opened her mouth.
はじめに誤解を解いておきたいんだけど、別に私は探偵さんのつもりはないのよ。
Right.
本音を言うとね、犯人が誰かなんてことには興味ないの。
高野さんも困った人だな。
Tomitaka-san gave a bitter laugh at her surprising opinion on the matter.
私はね、古式ゆかしい残酷な風習やおとぎ話に興味があるだけ。
Okay. I mean, I enjoy hearing and learning about these traditions too, but not because they're cruel. You seem to like the actual cruelty of it.
知的好奇心で面白がってるだけなの。だから一連の事件も犯人は誰かってことよりも事件の存在自体が古い因習がまだ根深く残ってることの証拠だって思って面白がってるくらい。
Though she described herself as nothing more than a curious onlooker, her smile was as sharp as the tip of a blade. Women like her felt very strange and a little scary to me. Maybe it's just that I was in a fearful awe of the person whose emotions I couldn't comprehend.
ま、私は全然面白くないですけどね。明日はいよいよ綿流しのお祭りですけど、誰にも死んでほしくないし、誰も消えてほしくないです。
明日か。
That's right. It had completely slipped my mind. The string of murderous incidents, people attributed to Oyashiro-sama's curse, it wasn't over. If last year's incident wasn't the end, then tomorrow night at the festival, would someone die and someone disappear?
明日は一体誰が死んで誰が消えるのかしらね。
Takano-san said, running a comb through her hair with an elegant movement, with a thin smile and a voice that nearly made me shudder. She almost looked like she was enjoying the thought of the incidents that could happen tomorrow. Then out of the blue, we heard a loud round of applause. They seemed to be ending a drinking party early. Right, I was making Mion wait for me the whole time, wasn't I? I should go back to her soon.
高野さんもからかいすぎだよ。圭一君がすっかり真に受けてしまったじゃないか。
ごめんなさいね。また悪い癖が出ちゃったみたい。
Said Takano-san, sticking out her tongue bashfully. The strangeness of her expression was nowhere to be found.
高野さんはね、純粋そうな子を見るとからかいたくなる悪い癖があるんだよ。圭一君が真剣に聞いてくれるもんだから、ついつい調子に乗っちゃったみたいなんだ。
Unlike Takano-san, Tomitaka-san seemed like a totally normal person with common sense. They were apologizing after realizing what kind of impression they'd given me.
高野さんが今した話はあくまでもフィクションだからね。もしもさっきの話で圭一君がひなみ沢に持ってたいい印象が傷つけられてしまったなら、純粋に申し訳なく。も
う二郎さんたら。
高野さんも謝った方がいい。怖がらせてしまってごめんなさいってね。
Takano-san and Tomitaka-san were arguing and messing around now. The strained air around us had dissipated.
ケイちゃんもそろそろ戻った方がいいです。お姉は嫉妬深いですからね。
And you aren't?
私は顔を合わせると喧嘩になりそうだから、このまま帰ることにします。
そうなのか？じゃあ俺はミオンのとこに戻って待たせたことを謝るかな。
迷惑をかけたね、圭一君。ミオンちゃんに圭一君を長く借りすぎて申し訳ないと伝えてくれないかな。
あ、はい。伝えても機嫌は直さないと思いますけど、一応。
Tomitaka-san and Takano-san, standing next to each other, both began to chuckle.
じゃあね、ケイちゃん。明日のお祭り、どこかですれ違えるといいですね。
So is that going to be the addition, huh? See Shion at the festival?
会えるよ。どうせ俺たちのことだ。賑やかにやってるに決まってる。
Yeah. Shion and I said goodbyes to Tomitaka-san and Takano-san. Before we could leave, Takano-san called out to us.
私の話を真剣に聞いてくれてありがとうね。前原くんがあまりに聞き上手だったんで、 話しててとても楽しかったわ。
Wow, that's good.
聞き上手なんて、そんな。
I was just in a state of perpetual bewilderment from all the shocking topics being thrown at me one after the other.
今日した話、面白かった？
まあ、興味深かったです。
なら、また今度も聞いてくれる？Hinamizawaの昔話とかおとぎ話にも興味深いものがたくさんあるの。もちろん、薄気味悪いのがたくさんね。私特選のをたくさん披露するわよ。
I was kind of happy, but kind of worried. I can't help but smile dryly and scratching my head.
ケイチ君、もう行ってもいいんだよ。
It's actually got me wondering, like, did they get targeted? Like, they kind of have a good MO for being targeted, but is this the moment they became enemies of this village? When they specifically pulled Keiichi aside and told him all of this? Like, because if it were, like, I don't know if Shion can ever become the enemy. She might be, her family's too tied into everything in Hinamizawa, so she probably can't actually get removed. But these two can. So maybe that's why. Maybe that's the target was put on them because of this conversation.
高野さんがからかっているだけさ。
They say goodbye again and run off. I heard Tomitaka-san call out behind him in a clear voice that we would see each other at the festival tomorrow. When I went to the tent, Mion was waiting for me. But waiting for me in, she was nowhere to be found. I made her wait so long, maybe she got mad and went home. After asking some adults passing by, I heard that she went home talking to some relatives. Maybe I shouldn't have done that. But my regret for having made Mion wait wasn't enough to triumph over the impression Takano-san and Shion's uncanny story left upon me. Several murder incidents had happened in 4 years in a row. Would tomorrow's events make this the 5th? And the possibility that someone from Hinamizawa was carrying it all out under the guise of a curse. The queer tradition of the ritual sacrifice, the entirely unbecoming of the Showa period we live in. I regretted it a little, though it was too late. If none of these creepy stories had anything to do with me, then I should have let Mion pull me away from that crowd. I felt a little ashamed by letting my cheap curiosity get the better of me. Yeah, I think that was the point. Mion kind of decided to I don't know, get involved in or orchestrate the dark path. And I say orchestrate because she made the impression, like in the first chapter, that she could have. Oh my gosh, we have a lot of tips. Oh no. But I got the impression at the end of the first one that she somehow had the ability to set in motion the events that happened. Like, she talked about how she should have gotten rid of the cop when she had the chance, and how she, like, felt bad because he was close to retiring and he hadn't done any harm, but now she was, like, she should have got him anyway. All right, let's see the new tips. We got a lot to do, so let's buckle up. We got 4 scrapbooks and the festival around the corner. From the scrapbook 1. Oishiro-sama's curse. In the ancient Onikakushi village, the anger of the Oishiro-sama, his curse, was feared above all. However, it is seldom stated anywhere what eventually happens and what sort of divine judgment or curse befalls them when the Oishiro-sama is angry. From various reports, all hell will break loose. Demons will come flooding out. The miasma of hell will flood outward and kill every villager without letting a single one escape. The ones evoking images of the village being annihilated stand out the most. These terrifying images of divine punishment are in alignment with many other religious beliefs regarding the apocalypse, hell, and it's easy to imagine that they are just ways of convincing people to obey the teachings in order to prevent such an end. The conditions for inciting Oishiro-sama's curse, wrath, are likely the same as the taboos in the Onikakushi village. I believe that when the act was performed that violates one of those taboos, Oishiro-sama was termed angry. Oh, interesting. So I wonder if that's the idea too. Is like, so you have the death that they attribute to the curse, and then the placating. So what if it actually is the cult? They perform the murder, but it angers Oyashiro-sama, and so to placate him, they gave him a sacrifice. So the curse isn't really real, but it is kind of real, because it's being used as a weapon, and then the second death is used to placate the people who believe that the curse is real. And in order to quell his anger, they would perform an aforementioned sacrificial ritual. Alright, that was short. But yeah, I think that might be the connection there. The curse is kind of real because it's motivating people to do stuff, and that faith and that belief is real. But I don't think it's actually a demon or a spirit named Oyashiro-sama that's actively doing it. Alright, scrap 2. The human sacrifice ritual. The sacrificial ritual was a simple drowning involving plunging sacrifices into Onikakushi swamp, which was considered hallowed. One of the rituals at Onikakushi village, this one was unique, and the sacrifice would sink slowly over the long course of 3 days and 3 nights. I believe that it wasn't much of a killing the sacrifice that was important, but rather the symbolism of them sinking and submerging of Oyashiro-sama's anger. For that purpose, they must have a passion for learning various methods for keeping the sacrifice from sinking too quickly to force them to sink more slowly. Unfortunately, as far as I can tell from the records, those methods were not recorded. My thoughts are that they may have used logs or some similar material to create a raft, then set up a scaffold on there, hung the sacrifice up with ropes, and let them sink little by little over time into the swamp. However, if that were the case, it would not be strange for the ritual implementations used for such a ceremony were honored as holy or enshrined elsewhere. Okay, so the importance there is it's pointing out the idea that if this sacrifice was done as believed, that it had a mechanism that was making sure that it was done properly, and that it would take time, implying that there was a point from like the time when the person vanishes where they could be saved, like 2 or 3 days, where you might be able to rescue them, because that could be interesting, terrifying too. What a crappy way to go. Now, what's also kind of crappy too is remember, like the wife of the priest, it said that she committed suicide. I wonder if she put herself in that situation and put herself inside that rig in order to placate the spirit. If she genuinely believed it so hard that she just did it, or if it was forced upon her. Scrapbook 3. Implementation for use of the ritual. Ritual tools utilized for ancient religious ceremonies are commonly referred to as implements or ritual implements. Even now, some of them are enshrined on the property of the Furude Shrine of the 3 families. However, the indefinable tools are all decorative, and none appear to have been used in ritual governing the dark side of Onikakushi village. As the Edo era came to a close, and many traditional rituals were lost, were they lost as well? Or perhaps buried in the darkness? I don't believe so. Both the implements used on the night of the festival of Onikakushi and those used during the sacrificial ceremonies must still exist, enshrined away from the eyes of the masses. Without a doubt, they exist here, today, at this very moment, in Hinamizawa. Also, I'm nearly certain where they've been enshrined. What was once locked steadfastly has, for some reason, been changed this year to a cheap-looking padlock. You may be able to do something about such a lock. Oh... Is that what happened? Is that that girl and her boyfriend, did they dig too deep into this? However, it was not far from the assembly hall, nor is it ever far from the presence of the people. However, I will not give up. The night when it became a blind spot to every villager in Hinamizawa is coming soon. Soon it will be Watanagashi. So that's what's going to happen. Somebody's planning to investigate. And it sounds like the girl, like, because she's like a student, she like finds this stuff fascinating. I think she wants to break in and see the mechanism. And that might be what gets her vanished and her boyfriend killed. Festival around the corner. Grabble, grabble, grabble.
おいおい、今日のうちからへばっててどうすんだよ。本番は明日だぞ。明日は最後の最後。バッチリ深夜まで燃え上がっていくんだからな。よっせ、気合い入れてきますぜ。よし、若さが一番だ。
みんなお疲れさん。綿流しはいよいよ明日だからな。今夜は早めに眠って体力を蓄えておいてくれよ。
Is this what was happening at the tent? Because remember, there's like a raucous cheer. Is that what this is going to end with? Tomorrow is finally Watanagashi. Festivals are split into 2 groups: those who enjoy them and those who support them. The former only need to prepare their minds, but the latter need not only that, but also painstakingly crafted plans and preliminary arrangements. While the general majority attending goes about enjoying the festival without a care in the world, will be strained the whole way through. Why?
そりゃ決まってるだろう。 全部終わった後のビールがうまいからだよ。
At times like these, it's best to have energetic, physically fit people. It wouldn't be worth it if you didn't do your best until the end, enjoying the whole way.
ああ、来ました。
Oishi-san came in. Everyone hurried to stand up.
はいはい、皆さんお疲れ様ですね。そのままで結構ですよ。
お疲れ様です。
Not even my seniors, who usually talk big about themselves, can hold a candle to Oishi-san. We all bowed as if we were one of the cheering squads of old. Karado, Oishi. A detective just waiting to retire, one who doesn't pay much mind to the rules or regulations and doesn't do too much in the way of real work. He looked like a rotten old man with a perchance of dirty jokes. My seniors, though, told me he was a real fighter in his youth. He may or may not have a heroic legend trailing behind him. Anyway, he surely has more dignity and presence in the room than the station chief who came in with him.
皆さん、明日の綿流しの準備、本当にお疲れさんです。
Everyone present stands upright and leans their ear in the chief's direction.
昨年発生したように、連続事件を期待する愉快犯の出現が濃厚に危惧されます。各員、一層気を引き締め、犯罪の抑止のために任務を全うしてください。
Yeah, he says crimes, but they mean murder.
何も起こらなければ一番いいんですがね。
Yeah.
必ず事件は起こると考えてくださいよ。抑止が一番ですが、まあ多分無理でしょう。
Oh boy.
今年も誰かが死んで誰かが消えます。
He sounds so confident about that.
もう間違いなく。
Everyone apart from the station chief smiled painfully.
大井さん、そんなんじゃ困るよ。もっと真剣にやってくれなきゃ。
肝心なのは祭りの夜を越すことじゃないんです。明日の夜、起こった何かに迅速かつ徹底的にどこまでも食いついていくこと。
I get that.
気合い入れてくよ。兜の尾を引き締めてき。
Clench the cheeks.
お社様のたたりの化けの皮を完璧にひっぺかしてやるぞ。
I like the sentiment. I like it. They weren't just doing their job, they were going to war, trying to prevent a crisis. Trying to save lives. Good cops. Alright, it looks like that's it. Thank you all so much for joining me today. This is an interesting episode. Kind of making up for the last episode being a bit shorter. This one definitely went a little bit longer, but it's gonna be a trend, I think. We're getting into the meat and the horror of it all, so it's gonna get real spicy. I was right in predicting that we were pretty much at the end of the fun time, so let's buckle up. It's gonna get real spicy in these next few episodes, I think. And the dread will set in. Oh, man. That's the one thing that can make this hard. When the games get really dark, it can almost make it difficult because sometimes you're having a good day, things are going pretty normal, and then you anticipate oh, I gotta record or I gotta read Higarashi, and it's I don't know if I want to feel that depressed when I'm done, so I'll have to see, but it's always worth it. I'm really excited to see how this plays out, what we're going to learn about the characters from here. And since we're focusing on Mion specifically, I'm really interested to see what she's going to be getting up to as things start to unravel. Because she definitely was involved in stuff, but I want to see how involved she is and if we get to learn more about her and her role in all of this. Because I imagine that she is involved pretty heavily. She seems to be in charge of stuff, and I think that that's an important detail I'm not going to let go of. So, yeah, let's find out. Thank you so much for joining me today. Hope you enjoyed this episode. I certainly enjoyed recording it, and I look forward to reading your comments about it because it'll be really fun to see what you thought. And, of course, it's always a pleasure to be able to make content with you and to kind of be able to give my experience of it, everything, sharing my thoughts. Thanks again for all the lovely comments and likes and stuff that happened in the last episode. I know it was a lot of fun, so I'm grateful for you. I'm really grateful for the patrons and members, especially for all your hard work supporting me. Hopefully I'm doing work that's worthwhile of that, but don't feel obligated. I'm just really grateful that you chose to support me like that, and I hope I can continue to be a worthwhile investment. But ultimately, just thank you for being here. It means the world to me that you are. I am so grateful for each and every one of you. And even if I'm not a massive channel, I feel like we've got a fantastic community, and I'm very happy, and I want to continue to make this go on and on and on. I don't want to ever stop. So thank you so much for that. I appreciate you. And until the next video, watching me, I've seen me next. I'll see you there.